Do you think a tsunami is nature's most destructive force? A wall of water hundreds of feet high, sweeping away everything in its path. It's an apocalyptic image, right? It's what we see in the movies. It's what we fear. But what if I told you that this wall of water is just the symptom of an infinitely greater threat? What if the real danger isn't the advancing water, but the darkening sky? What annihilated the dinosaurs wasn't the asteroid impact itself. It was what came next. A long, silent global winter, an impact winter. And the shocking truth is that the seeds for the next event that could freeze our planet aren't coming from space. They are bubbling right under our feet. Today, we're going to explore the science and history behind the most underrated extinction event of all. We will dive into the terrifying scenario of a modern impact winter and discover why the real danger isn't the sound of the explosion, but the silence that follows. This isn't a new concern. The idea that the sky can become our enemy is etched into our history. Think about 1815. Mount Tambora in Indonesia unleashed the largest volcanic eruption in recorded history. The explosion was heard over 1,600 miles away. But the immediate terror was just the prologue. What followed was the year 1816, known as the Year Without a Summer. The enormous amount of ash and gas launched into the stratosphere blocked sunlight on a global scale. The planet's temperature dropped. It snowed in June in North America. Crops failed across Europe and Asia, leading to famine, riots, and a global crisis. A single eruption on the other side of the world rewrote reality for millions of people. This isn't fiction. It's in the history books. And Tambora was an amateur compared to the giants that lie dormant today. To understand the real threat, you need to know two concepts. The first is the supervolcano. Forget the image of a conical mountain. A supervolcano isn't a mountain. It's a depression in the ground, a caldera that can be dozens of miles across. Think of it as a giant geological pimple on the Earth's crust, covering a magma chamber so vast that its eruption can alter the planet's climate. Yellowstone in the United States is the most famous example. The second concept is the sulfate aerosol albedo effect. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. When a supervolcano erupts, it doesn't just throw ash into the air. It injects millions of tons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. Up there, this gas reacts with water to form a haze of tiny particles, the sulfate aerosols. Think of these particles as a blanket of microscopic mirrors enveloping the Earth. They are incredibly effective at reflecting sunlight back into space. It's, in practice, a planetary sunscreen that works too well, plunging the world below into a frozen twilight. Now, let's put the pieces together. Imagine this. It's a normal Tuesday. Suddenly, the ground beneath Yellowstone National Park begins to shake with a violence never before recorded. The ground swells by several feet, and then it happens. It's not an explosion, it's a planetary decompression event. An area the size of a large city simply disintegrates, releasing the pressure from a magma chamber that had been building for 600,000 years. In the first few minutes, a pyroclastic flow, a wave of ash, rock, and gas superheated to nearly 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, rushes out at sonic speeds, incinerating everything in a 60-mile radius. But that's just the local opening act. Within 24 hours, a cloud of ash, as fine as talcum powder but as sharp as ground glass, covers most of North America. The sky turns black, not gray, black. The air becomes unbreathable. The power grid collapses. Jet engines on planes fail as the ash chokes them. Communications are cut. The continent is plunged into darkness and silence. But the true global catastrophe is just beginning. High above, unseen, the sulfur dioxide is spreading through the stratospheric jet streams, wrapping the globe in its reflective blanket. A week later, Europe notices the sky has a strange, yellowish-gray hue. The sun seems weaker, as if seen through frosted glass. A month later, the global average temperature has already dropped by 5 degrees Celsius, or 9 degrees Fahrenheit. In some places, the drop is 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. Snow begins to fall in Latin America in mid-January. Summer in the northern hemisphere is canceled. The Asian monsoons on which billions of people depend for agriculture simply don't arrive. 1 year later, we are in the year without a sun. Global harvests have completely failed. There is no food. Supply chains collapsed months ago. Governments fall. Billions of people face starvation. The frigid, acidic air causes acid rain that poisons the few remaining freshwater reservoirs. The silence is what's most terrifying. The silence of the birds, which have died. The silence of the cities without power. The world as we know it is over. Frozen beneath a perpetual, hostile sky. It sounds like a disaster movie script, I know. And, in fact, some geologists and risk experts argue that the probability of a supervolcano eruption in our lifetime is astronomically low. They tell us not to worry, that the cycles of these volcanoes are hundreds of thousands of years long, and that Yellowstone shows no signs of an imminent eruption. It's a fear, they say, overhyped by pop culture. However, that reassuring view is being challenged. More recent studies using advanced seismic technology and gas analysis have revealed something disturbing. The magma chamber beneath Yellowstone is recharging much faster than older models predicted. Researchers from Arizona State University discovered that the process leading to a supereruption could happen in a matter of decades, not millennia, once the magma reaches a critical tipping point. Decades. That completely changes the risk equation. We're no longer talking about geological time. We're talking about human time. But what if you need proof that this scenario isn't just a hypothesis, but a memory recorded in our very DNA? Let's go back 74,000 years. The Toba supervolcano in Sumatra erupts with a force 1,000 times greater than Mount Tambora. It triggers an impact winter that lasts for nearly a decade. For a long time, this was just a geological theory, until the geneticists stepped in. By analyzing human DNA from populations around the world, they found evidence of a genetic population bottleneck that occurred at the exact same time. Our genetic diversity plummeted so drastically that it suggests the entire human population was reduced to just a few thousand individuals, perhaps fewer than 10,000 people on the entire planet. Think about that. Our species, Homo sapiens, was brought to the brink of extinction, not by predators, not by disease, but by a sudden, catastrophic climate shift caused by a single volcanic event. The proof isn't just in the Antarctic ice cores, it's in your blood, in mine. We are the descendants of the few lucky survivors of the last impact winter. And this leads us to an uncomfortable question. If scientists are realizing these events can happen faster than we thought, do the world's governments already know this? Think about projects like the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, the Doomsday Vault in Norway. Officially, it's to preserve seed biodiversity. But why the urgency? Think of the numerous reports about deep underground military bases whose existence is denied. There's an interesting theory circulating on the more obscure forums of the internet that suggests these projects aren't just precautions. They're part of a contingency plan for the global elite, a plan to ensure their survival and ability to reboot civilization after an event like an impact winter, while the rest of us are left to face the cold and the dark. I'm not saying it's true, but it raises intriguing questions about who knows what and who they are really preparing for. In the end, the greatest lesson of an impact winter is humility. It reminds us that our technological, globalized civilization is incredibly fragile, dependent on a delicate climatic balance that can be shattered in an instant, not by our actions, but by the primordial forces churning beneath our own planet's crust. The real tsunami isn't one of water, it's one of ash, of cold, and of darkness. But what about you? Do you think the threat of a new impact winter is real and imminent, or is it just an exaggerated alarm to scare us? Is there a secret plan to survive it? Leave your theory in the comments below. I read all of them. If you enjoyed this in-depth investigation, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our other video on the most disturbing mysteries about asteroids. And I'll see you next time. This is the Matrix Facts.